Hello, welcome back to the BCS podcast post week 7 into week 8. Obviously, some pretty big games here. The first of the round robin of the top 3 teams, in addition to the battle for the Paul Bunyan Trophy. But of course, as we always do, we'll start by recapping last week's games. And where do you want to start, Zach?
Let's start. Let's start with the shit show. Let's start with the mess. 24-6, fourth quarter comeback for Mr. Gavin Wimstad. Gavin Wimstad, is that correct?
Wimstad, yeah.
Yeah, Gavin Wimstad. Unfortunately, Sparty had a rough week this week. We might as well start with that because it's unfortunate. 24-6 lead. We give up a trouble with the snap-esque drop punt. They onside kick it 70 yards and get a recovery, score again, and then they score one more time when we go 3 and out. Great performance from Mr. Hauser in his first start. 2 touchdown passes. I think the offense is looking a lot better, clicking a lot better, but 0 points in the fourth quarter really held us back, and Rutgers won the game 27-24. Got to give them all the credit in the world. That team fought hard. Our team looked like we were in a lot better shape, especially in the first half. Looked like we were ready to play this week. The weather played a little bit of a factor, but we still played as good as I felt we could have, and just came up short. And it's kind of been the motto of this year, just coming up short, especially the last 2 weeks that we've played. So unfortunate start, and hope to bounce back in a big rivalry game this week.
I mean, it kind of seemed like late in that game, it sounded like they knew like every single one of your play calls, like they were kind of in your huddle.
Yeah.
And, some great pregame scouting there.
Yeah.
Kind of like another school.
Oh, here we go. The breaking news of the day, we might as well touch on it real quick. Michigan under their second allegation for play. What is the term this week?
I don't even know, bro.
Sign stealing. I don't know how to classify it. We kind of touched on it, me and Blake, in another pod a little bit ago. There's not a whole lot that I really want to say anymore, but the fact is we're going to wait for all the information to come out, see what happens, and we'll go from there.
They hate us because they ain't us.
I'll just say this. You guys tried to run that guy out of town. But
I wasn't alive. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm just saying I was alive, and you guys did not like him as a quarterback. But I will say this. Every team's probably doing this. It's just Michigan's under a microscope, and they got caught doing it. And someone definitely said, here's the thing. Sign stealing is not illegal in college football, actually. I mean, you can see every single person doing these hand motions. And if you've ever watched like a college football game, it's actually kind of funny. The grad assistants all on the sideline, they are literally doing like all these different hand motions. Like you've seen like literally some guy do like the walk like the Egyptian sign at points, and like the Dougie like dance on the sidelines is one of their plays and stuff like that. So, I mean, you could steal signs if you want. It's kind of hard to. They definitely like change up their signs all the time. It's just kind of weird that this is what they're going after. Now, is it illegal for what Michigan probably did? Yeah, but are other teams doing it? Yes.
Absolutely.
I'm just going to say some teams down south probably do it a lot. And I'm just going to say this, and it's kind of funny. I've read this on a Reddit post before, and there are people in the South who think that the Goodyear blimp, which is located in Akron, Ohio, and is run by a bunch of people who are Ohio State grads, is literally flying over games in the South and practices scouting the teams of Clemson and Georgia and Bama and scouting their practices for Ohio State.
That's crazy.
Hey, it's been put out there on multiple Reddit posts. So who knows? Maybe Ohio State's actually doing this. It's just they're using the Goodyear blimp. Yeah. I will say this. There was a drone that flew over Ohio Stadium during the Ohio State-Maryland game. I'm just saying.
I might have known who that was. But
so yeah,
all we've gotten so far is they actually just came out with a thing. There was supposedly a spreadsheet that had a play, a signal, and the result. That was it. And another team commented and said that's what every team has on every team always.
Yeah,
Like you can
absolutely.
watch the thing. If you see a guy go like this and they run it and they do it again and he runs it, if I see this, guess what? We're blitzing.
He's gonna run the ball.
Yep.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I think it's very simple. And again, yeah, when you're under a microscope, you can't be doing these dumb things.
So
Again, we kind of mentioned this earlier. The only thing that pisses us off is Ward Manuel is one of the most incompetent individuals of all time. And he gives me hope in life that I can be making a 7-figure salary and doing absolutely nothing and providing zero value. And in fact, almost like anti-recruiting my entire establishment. The fact that I've said this, the Michigan was in their own way for so long. We finally got our ducks in a row. Everyone's on the same page. It's us versus the world. Ohio tries to steal that bullshit. Detroit versus everybody. You can kind of say it's Michigan versus everybody right now. And you got your own AD just sabotaging you from within. It's completely embarrassing, and it's a very unserious thing that's going on right now. We've seen it happen with other sports. You look down at Clemson basketball or baseball has an existence because we lost the coach. Our hockey team has taken a massive step back because we lost the coach, and the whole thing has got zero support there. There's some shenanigans that were going on there. I don't want to get into it. Basketball, we had the opportunity to have quite a few very good players. Terrence Shannon single-handedly beat Michigan in 2 games last season. He was denied entry here. You had a guy on our offensive line, Miles Hinton, from Stanford University, get credits not accepted. In what world are you doing any course at Stanford? Stanford's intro history course would be like a PhD level course at Ole Miss. So I don't know what we're doing here. And the fact that those credits can't transfer, I don't know if it's even on him. Make something happen, okay? Your job as AD is to be the biggest slime ball piece of crap on planet, and it is my team versus everyone else. I don't care if there's like a burning car of another team. We're doing whatever we can to make my team first and win. And the fact that Ward is out here publicly saying, this is the best part. I don't know if you guys even heard this, is he's publicly saying, oh, we're going to look into it. We're going to, investigate it.
Basically admitting that you did something wrong.
And then privately, he's like, I got your back. I believe in you. I don't think anything happened. Do the opposite. Are you kidding me? We'll do our own due diligence in the house and be like, hey, NCAA, what's up? Double bird, right? and the fact that we're not getting that is the only part that really is bothering right now. But again, there's apparently good news on the way. The way Harbaugh's contract is structured, I think that we're going to get kind of the opposite of what other people think is going to happen. It's either going to be, look, this is either going to push Jim into the NFL and he's going to be the first person to finally make the Chargers not make you want to die when they're on national television being idiots to the Cowboys, or Harbaugh's going to sign a lifetime deal and it's going to make Saban look like an idiot. So listen, there's no in between. That is the two things that are going to happen. And hey, that's why we play the games. And we'll see what happens.
So staying on the mission.
I'll make one last comment about that. Blake, I certainly hope your dance moves are a little better than your hand signals.
Yeah, exactly.
Next game, we'll roll right into Michigan. Blake, what do we got?
Rolling. It is what it is. The same thing's happening the last few weeks. They had a quick off the bat. They had a quick touchdown. It was on honestly a very beautiful play. They ran like a delayed screen, and the guy just all of a sudden, cocked back and threw it 40 yards on the field. It was like 4th and 10, I think it was, or something. I don't even know what the play was. But JJ McCarthy went 0 for 3 his first 2 drives, including getting sacked. It was kind of a sack. He also kind of ran backwards. Then after that, he ripped off the next, I think, 4 or 5 drives. He was 14 for 14 for 222 yards and 3 touchdowns. So no incompletions, no drops, no nothing. Really doing his thing. Blake Corum, again, starting to run the ball, getting a bit more. The only thing that really was like a big thing was right at the end of the half, Donovan Edwards wanted to stay on the field and was waving off the substitution, and they called a timeout, and then they put in Blake Corum, who ran in for another one. They want Blake Corum to break the shoelace record, Denard Robinson's touchdown record. It is what it is. But Donovan finally got in the end zone for the first time this season, which is kind of nuts at the end here. And leading rusher was Ben Hall, the freshman. So he kind of came in the 4th quarter and did his thing. There's a few different things that really surprised me. It was 4th and short, on the goal line. It was with the 1 or 2 yard line, and Michigan went 5 wide, and JJ threw it on 4th and short. If you were telling me that Michigan was going 5 wide shotgun on a 4th and any goal to goal situation, let alone 4th down, it would have surprised me. So that kind of shows you the absolute confidence that Harbaugh has in McCarthy, and their ability to not even have to run the ball. And, when's the last time you've seen Michigan average 13 yards per pass? It's something crazy. So we're starting to be able to play in multiple different ways, and, took care of business against Indiana, lockdown, and basically anything you wanted to see out of this game, it checked every box. Some freshmen scoring.
I love the headline.
Ben Hall doing great, and it's easy.
I love the headline. Number 2, Michigan has taken full advantage of its soft schedule. They're just admitting it now. I love it.
We're making the schedule soft. It is what it is. Michigan is 113th in strength of schedule. Penn State's 102nd, 112th, in strength of schedule, like half a point ahead of us. And I haven't heard one person talking about Penn State's soft schedule, but hey, it is what it is.
So let's just roll through the rest of the games, and we'll come back to Ohio State because, not a whole lot of great action that happened this week. 63-0 Penn State. They rolled. They played UMass. Everybody expected this. The spread was like 40 some odd points.
Now I want you to think about something. You're playing Don Brown, Dr. Blitz. Michael would love to play him again, I'm sure. And you look at, winning 63-0. What would you think your quarterback threw for?
Like 350 passing yards and 3 touchdowns at minimum.
How about 162 yards?
Yeah, I see that. Crazy. The big upset of the week. Illinois beats Maryland.
The big upset of the week.
Yeah, the big upset of the week, I guess. Maryland.
It was a 14-point spread.
Yeah, we all thought it was going to be, that team that just only lost the 3 main teams and kept rolling, but Illinois
at home.
They did not show up very well. It was a messy game. Yeah, Maryland's. So it came a little bit later, and then the biggest game of the Big Ten West, in my opinion, of the week, kind of decided who was going to be in first place. Iowa with a don't be scared of the big number, 15-6 win over Wisconsin. Wisconsin's quarterback, unfortunately, has a hand injury. I'm pretty sure he's out for the rest of the season, which is unfortunate. Hopefully he gets well soon, but
9-point dogs, and they won by 9. They did their whole thing. It was great to see.
I don't know if anyone really actually paid attention to the box score on this one. But did we by chance see, so first off, I don't know if anyone saw, but Iowa scored on an 82-yard touchdown run.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a broken play. It was great.
Yes. It was major broken play. It was
major broken play. That was their first touchdown that they got. And then they just kind of grinded out everything. And it's I don't even look, they scored on a field goal, and a safety. Dude, Wisconsin is bad. Trust me, I get it with their non-quarterback, but they lost the game, and the other team's quarterback threw for 37 yards.
Yeah, it's
37 yards, and there wasn't a substitute of a quarterback. He had and I'm looking at it right now. He had a QBR of 6.2. 6.2 and won the game.
Yeah, it was.
There's so many things when it comes to Iowa. So there's obviously the Michigan angle, which I'll do in a second. But I always just think about these things. And this is the sicko mode of mine. Imagine they hire, what's his name? Who's the cat that they just fired? That's out. The old Arizona Cardinals coach, Kingsbury.
Yes.
You bring in Kingsbury. Some offensive mind, dude, look, you do all offense. We have the special teams and defense down. I mean, this is a national championship level special teams and defense.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah.
You
put a serviceable quarterback on that team.
Year in and year out.
A legit playoff contender.
They could actually compete with the team out of the East, and they might be able to beat them.
I am a firm believer that Penn State game, if they got any kind of offense in that Penn State game, they might have won that game.
Yeah.
Firm believer.
So well.
Yeah.
They played well enough to win on defense. I don't know.
Get Malik Murphy or the kid from Texas or some other quarterback.
But here's the thing.
Any money.
Iowa fans are happy with going 8-4 and going to the conference championship every single year.
I agree.
They are very happy with that. They're happy with that going to whatever the Outback Bowl got named to now. I can't even remember. I know the name got changed.
Bad Boy Mowers, Gasparilla, one of those two.
No.
Is Iowa going to make a New Year's Six Bowl? With
I
the
said,
Big Ten
man.
championship with 2 losses. Went out the rest of the season.
Listen, the Iowa versus LSU New Year's Six Bowl is going to go crazy.
It's going to be the most electric offense. One of the
Cotton
most
Bowl.
electric offenses.
Cotton Bowl is going to be awesome.
Like, imagine that if they played Alabama. That'd be hilarious.
It'd be so funny. Alabama would be
they
lost.
would actually match up very well against Alabama.
They'd probably beat Alabama, honestly.
Yeah.
If you get one scoop and score, pick six, something like that,
or a broken run,
or short field, you're going to beat Alabama.
Yeah. So
like, just God bless the Big Ten East for football.
My last thing on Iowa quickly: when you try to sue doctors, okay, because
here we
think
go.
they're not doing it right, and both of you end up tearing your ACL and you're out for the year, and you, instead of listening to Michigan, you go get surgery in a strip mall in Florida, and then you tear the ACL. Continue.
So last game of the day, our last noon game, because all of us played at noon. It was a weird day. Ohio State 41, Purdue 7. Probably not exactly what Cozy was expecting, but a little bit more of a blowout than he thought.
I was a little nervous. Obviously, we saw it when we got to the red zone. I kind of liked it. We used Devin Brown. Yes, he fumbled. I think he learned from it. My main thing is after he fumbled, the very next series, we went right back to him in the red zone to create some red zone rushing opportunities. I really liked it because I was like, oh no, he fumbled. So now we're never going to use it again. I actually like that we put that back in. So, I mean, Chip got hurt. No Travion. No Mayan Williams. So we were down a lot of running backs. We used Xavier Johnson back there sometimes. Dallin Hayden looked great. I mean, 6.9 yards per average. Nice. He had that nice touchdown. Kyle McCord looked pretty comfortable. I mean, it's Purdue. The line looked pretty good finally. They're starting to gel. The tackles are obviously worrisome. Still, we'll talk about it later. Mm-hmm. The one main thing from this game is we looked really good on offense. Literally, Purdue had the opening drive for Purdue was okay. They came out and kind of ran a brand new style of offense that they hadn't really shown all season. It worked against us, kind of caught us off guard. We made adjustments. Everything was fine. They missed a field goal. So also then just to say they went to attempt another field goal right before the end of the half, and they missed that field goal, which that field goal was a 39-yard field goal. Now, here's the best part about this. So their kicker missed 3 field goals total. He missed 1 coming out of the half as well. His name is Julio Macias. I don't know. Never even really paid much attention to him. But at halftime, fun fact here, they had a student section kicking contest at halftime already scheduled. Obviously, these things are scheduled out. And the guy who won hit a 40-yard field goal at halftime, which just makes this even worse because now, granted, it was raining, it was slippery, stuff like that, but they literally had a kicking contest at halftime, and the kid who won hit a 40-yard field goal down the middle, and their own kicker couldn't even make a field goal.
You can't let an engineering guy, dork nerd, out of his pants and smoke a kick for you, man. It reminds me of, I remember, what's his name did that? R.I.P. Mike Leach did that once, I remember.
Yeah. I mean, other than that,
walk-on scholarship.
Look, I'm glad, obviously, big game this week for us. We didn't look ahead. We didn't let Purdue get to us. Fun fact here, if history repeats itself, Ryan Day will be here for sure, at least for a few more years until we head back to Purdue, because every single head coach since Paul Brown, or actually Wes Fessler, has lost at Purdue. Every single head coach.
He's going to be the one to break it.
Either that. I mean, if he gets fired at the end of this year, yeah, he'll break it. But I don't want him to get fired at the end of this year.
So
that pretty much sums up the game. I mean, I was a little nervous going in, but it was a noon game. And I'm going to tell you what, though. I talked to a lot of people who went, and they said that there was a lot of Purdue people there. Like, the Purdue people were there, and they were very much into the game. They said that it's the first time they've been to a Purdue game, and they had a full student section. I think people are actually excited for Purdue football,
which is good.
Which is good because it's been a while. I mean, they won the West last year, and now they had all these kids transfer out. They have a brand new coach. I think he's going to be good in the future. Here's the problem. There's no more divisions. Purdue is just like Purdue is going to have a Drew Brees style quarterback go there to literally will them to get into a Big Ten title game now. There's no more division saving them. So other than that, I'm just glad we got in, got out. Obviously a little banged up.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, Chip looked like he wanted to go back in. They kind of held him out. Denzel Burke, same thing. So we'll talk about it later. But
big news of the week. A couple big games that happened in the top 25. Georgia 37-20, but they lose Brock Bowers for foreseeable future, if not the entire season, with an injury. So hopefully he heals quick, and he might. I don't know if he can come back by the playoffs or not.
That's going to get real tricky, man, because they've got a pretty tough stretch in, relatively speaking, down the field. And if you look at the odds in Vegas, Michigan's now the favorite to win the championship. Like, it moved a lot. Like, he's their entire offense. And when you got a younger quarterback in Carson Beck, like, imagine, I would say it's pretty much the same thing if, like, Marvin Harrison went out for the year, basically, where it's like, it's a pretty good crutch to rely on, and it really opens up everything else. Now that you have this Swiss Army knife freak of a tight end, which is totally different from him, it's just attacking the middle of the field, you can really scheme it up differently. And, you look at a team like Tennessee, I think it's a really favorable matchup for him now.
I have a hot take question. I'm probably going to jinx them because I jinx West Virginia with this. But if Ole Miss beats Georgia and they win out, and they are sitting there at 11-1, and Bama wins out, and they don't go to the SEC title game, does the committee look at Ole Miss and give them a shot because they beat Georgia?
It really depends. I think I've been saying the problem is it's kind of based on pedigree. Like, I think if it's like an 11-1, Michigan and Penn State are kind of sitting there on the outside looking in, similar type thing. If you've been there, they'll go in. The fact that it's Ole Miss, probably not. If it was Alabama in the same exact situation, I think they would. And that's kind of a flawed system in the 4 team because we kind of seen it in the last few years. But,
Hey, Zach, by the way, did you notice how he said Michigan or Penn State and didn't include one?
I know. It happens every week.
You know what I mean? And I think that, I was just saying on, like, the whole idea of, like, comparing you to them, you've already been there. So, like, once you're in, you're in. It's kind of like that's what I've said.
You're
the Cowboys Club. But one man did predict the Michigan Ole Miss championship, and that would be Big Chap.
No, shout out to Big Chap every week. An absolute legend. So let's move on. Let's keep going through the games. The next big game, we'll just skip over the one big one for now. USC falls to Notre Dame. Notre Dame at home gives Caleb Williams the work. 3 interceptions, not his best showing at all.
Oh, he looked terrible. I mean, I think a lot of people saw this coming. I kept saying, like, Notre Dame was a lot better than I thought they were, to be honest. I'm honestly surprised Notre Dame lost at Louisville. I'm really honestly surprised. Like,
Louisville lost to Pitt.
Yeah. And you know what the funny thing is? I didn't even know that till Zach brought it up in a space. I didn't even pay attention to Louisville losing to Pitt.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't even close.
Yeah.
It wasn't even close.
I didn't even realize that they lost. Here's the thing. Like, I just scrolled through that game. Like, they were beating Pitt at halftime and then just completely fell apart in the second half.
Oh, they scored 0 points in the second half.
Yeah, but you know what? Notre Dame, I think Notre Dame is a better team than we thought they were. I know after Ohio State struggled early on in the season and then barely beat Notre Dame, everyone's like, oh, same old Notre Dame, can't win a big game, can't finish it out. And then the next week, they went on the road at Duke and, like, look, I know it's Duke, but it's also Duke with Riley Conrad. It's Conrad, right?
What? Duke? Riley Leonard?
or Riley Leonard. Yeah,
but he got hurt. He got hurt in that game, and
he got hurt on the last throw of the game. Okay, let's pump the brakes there. There was it was a good Notre Dame win finally on the road that like I'm actually giving Notre Dame credit for, which is shocking.
Yeah,
but. I know. That's how I felt. I know.
Notre Dame's like this. They're like this. They're like, boom.
And I
boom,
give them
we're dodging the Big Ten.
I give them credit for USC, but guess what? USC's terrible. They're not a good defense.
No.
And the bad thing is USC, that's not a conference loss for them. So like it's going to come down to Washington, them, and Oregon.
Lincoln Riley to Iowa. Make it happen.
Oh,
that'd be crazy.
There's dude, he left Oklahoma for a reason.
But he wants a defense. He needs defense.
He needs to get rid of Alex Grinch.
Yeah.
There's a big rumor that he's going to follow Caleb the NFL, is what people are saying.
If he does that
to the Bears,
if he does that, then we'll see. We'll talk about when it happens.
USC is cooked if that happens.
Yeah, USC coming to the Big Ten with a brand new coach, a brand new quarterback,
and head coach Alex Grinch.
Oh man, no.
Oh man, it'd be their biggest nightmare.
It would be an absolute shit show in LA. And here's the thing, though, they don't really care that much.
No.
Let's be very realistically honest.
No.
USC fans are only USC fans when they're rolling off titles and they're winning.
Yeah, they don't care. They don't care.
I mean, and here's the thing. Obviously, we're going to get to it. I know we'll talk about the Oregon-Washington game here. But they're not beating either Oregon or Washington.
I don't think so.
They're a 3-4 loss team this year.
So the next couple games, North Carolina 41, Miami 31. Tez Walker keeps rolling in his second start, 3 touchdowns, 132 yards. Thanks, Blake, for stealing them off my fantasy team. Like we already stated before, Louisville falls apart in the second half, loses to Pittsburgh 38-21. UCLA and Oregon State. Oregon State was kind of in command for most of this game. Another Dante Moore kind of feeling out process for his young career. He's trying to get everything together and he's still kind of struggling. Tennessee with a nice little sleeper, barely walked through win over Texas A&M. Everybody was kind of back and forth in that game.
That game was gross.
It was horrible. It was a bad game. I almost fell asleep through it.
It was on my TV instead of the good game. But
can we actually talk about I know we were talking about this at one point. Can we talk about Arizona and Washington State?
Yeah, Arizona with a big win over Washington State, 44-6. It's like they just where are they coming from? Their
future Michigan State head coach Jed Fish is going crazy.
Yeah, their starting quarterback, Fifta, is balling out. This is now 3 weeks in a row where he is just showing out. They should have beat USC last week, and they proved why this week.
They gave Washington fits. They gave Washington fits. Everyone looked at that game and went, oh, maybe Washington isn't as good as we thought they were. Well, you know what?
But if you question their defense at all, giving up 6 points in the first quarter and going 3 quarters shutout for the rest of the game against a half-decent Washington State team is kind of crazy at this point. But they're rolling.
How do you pronounce his name?
No.
How do you pronounce their quarterback's name?
Noah Fifta, I think. Fifita? I don't know. Sorry. Yeah.
He had 342 passing yards.
Yeah, and 0 touchdowns. And
0 touchdowns and 342 passing yards. Like, that's really hard to do.
Yeah. And then let's just get to the big one. The game everybody was circling on their calendar, and it proved to be that type of game. I'm just going to put it out there that me and Cozy were right and Blake was wrong when he said the Huskies roll. The Huskies come out.
Don't do that. Do not do that.
The Huskies look like what they were supposed to be. 36-33 with a nice home victory over Oregon. The game was everything everybody wanted.
And you know what? It really proved all 3 phases of the game matter.
Absolutely.
All 3 phases, they all matter.
Yeah.
Dude.
And not a missed field goal.
I still can't believe they went for it on fourth down though.
I
Like,
don't know. Like that's not going to fly in the Big Ten.
Like all you have to do is punt the ball away, and I get it. It's Michael Penix. He's going to drive down the field, but instead of giving him 45 yards of field, you're giving him 80 yards or 90 yards, and he has to go down in less than 2 minutes. And they basically threw it away at that point.
Yeah. And I mean, okay, I get the other thing is like I get like Washington going for it on the 4th and goal and not kicking the field goal because they were down by 4 points. Like I get that, but then you literally had like I don't know. It just boggles my mind that it was like, okay, you are up by 4 points and you're not going to punt them and try and force them. Even if you literally punt the ball through the end zone, they're still getting the ball at the 20. Like, no excuses, just a questionable play call. Once again, I mean, and here's the thing. It wasn't like Washington wasn't moving the ball. Washington was moving the ball plenty well down the field. I mean, Penix had 302 passing through the air. So,
yeah, I mean, the big thing that people won't look at in this whole game is Mr. Jalen McMillan didn't even really play. I don't think he had a single snap, and that's one of their 3 4-headed monsters that they have on offense. If they even have him in the game, I think they would have won by quite a bit more points because you're basically limiting that explosive offense. Let's see. Yeah, he didn't even have a single receiving yard, so that's one of those 3-headed monsters for the wide receivers. Polk, Odunze, they both had over 110 yards, a touchdown each at least. It looks like 3 combined. So that's the big thing. You gotta look at the overall body of work, and they're an offensive passing team. I mean, everybody's known that. Blake still doesn't believe that they can run the ball. I still think that they can run the ball. They just don't need to right now. Until they need to run the ball, they are rolling. And they're going to keep.
I mean, Dylan Johnson literally had 20 carries for 100 yards. That's 5 yards a carry.
Yeah,
so.
Great. And I think when you have such a good passing game, it really obviously opens up the run game. No kidding.
Yeah.
But it's just the little things, man. And when you're going to think about this game, I know Josh Pate always talks about this. It's like when you're going to think of Oregon losing the game, but there's a reason why they had to kick that field goal at the end. Like, sometimes when you've got a subpar defense, but your offense is that good, it works because you score every time and you need your defense to get lucky once in a while. I think like you look at Washington is what USC wants to do. And I think that's a good way to put it like that. But I think it was probably the best win of the season so far. I would say would be for Washington. I know Oregon's at 9, probably a little bit farther down for them to drop, but obviously you still get a drop. But I think the College World Playoff will value their 5-1 way more than the AP will.
Yeah, I think.
I'll say this: it's not really going to matter. I think the Pac-12 is definitely getting a team in this year, unless they literally cannibalize themselves. And what I mean by that is, like, you look at Washington's schedule coming up, and I know that they have a very tough road ahead. It looks like a little bit easier maybe than what we thought. I mean, you got Arizona State, you got at Stanford, but then you got USC, Utah, Oregon State, Washington State. If Washington can get through that undefeated and they're playing a one-loss Oregon team in the Pac-12 championship game, the winner is in no matter what, no questions, no ifs, ands, or buts. But here's the backstory here. If Washington slips up and they get there and they have a rematch with Oregon and both teams have one loss, or hypothetically speaking, Oregon blows another game somewhere against Oregon State or something like that, and they still go and they win, they're not letting a 2-loss Pac-12 team in. The only way they don't get in is if a 2-team win Pac-12 team gets in or wins the Pac-12. That's the only way they don't get a team in, because they are literally probably the best conference right now.
Yeah.
I mean, we may have the best division, but they have a good 4 solid teams, in my opinion. And look, I don't want to harp on USC, but they're still 4-0 in the Pac-12.
Yeah, they have a chance. They really do.
And then you got Oregon, Utah, Washington, Oregon State. Utah's still a solid team as well. People need to stop writing Utah off.
Which is the perfect week for them to prove it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I know we're gonna hit on it. So
Yeah.
but-
I mean, we kind of did all the review.
Yeah.
Now we can look forward to this week. Talk a little bit about the two main games that we're gonna talk about. But we'll just roll through a couple games. Tennessee, Alabama. I already know Blake likes his Tennessee offense when they spread it out and play 7-on-7 football in the middle. I know that should be an interesting game to see what happens.
I would just like to say to Alabama fans, congratulations on CBS picking you guys as a home game instead of Ohio State, Penn State. They had a very golden opportunity to put their Big Ten allegiance front and center and show one of the main three games and say, hey, SEC, bye. We don't want you anymore. Have fun. And said, nope, we're going to pick old Tennessee and Alabama at 3:30 instead of Ohio State and Penn State. So
it is going to be played like a Big Ten game, to be fair.
Yeah, it should be interesting.
To be fair,
the next game we got to touch on 3:30 on NBC. So you could have got this game, but instead they wanted to put the lowest over-under in college football history recorded, 30.5 points. Minnesota travels to Kinnick to take on Iowa. It should be one of the most interesting defensive games you'll ever watch. And I just don't even know what to expect in a game like that.
So I have a hot take in this one. I think the over hits easily because there's so many defensive touchdowns.
Oh boy. Yeah. I can't see it. I don't know. I think it's going to be like 10-3 final. And then you already touched on this a little bit. Utah plays USC this week at Memorial Coliseum. I think this is a great game that Utah can prove that their defense is legit still.
Cameron Rising alive?
Yeah, is he okay?
He's been 50-50 since week 1.
Yeah. Is he going to play at all this year? I don't.
He's just saving his health for Michigan next year.
Yeah.
Works for me.
Oh, jeez. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I'm hopeful he plays.
I do want to touch on one top 25 matchup this week. Duke at Florida State. I don't know about that one because of the fact that their quarterback's out. It just doesn't strike the needle. I get it, but I actually think this Duke defense is for real. They have been putting up some numbers that, I mean, look when they played Clemson, they literally had they put up a great game against Clemson. I know Lafayette doesn't really count. They look good against Northwestern, UConn. Who cares? Notre Dame, they didn't look bad, and then they just put an ass whipping on NC State. Is there a possibility that they could win? I mean, if I'm a Florida State player, I'm going into this game like, oh, it's Duke, cool. But it's also Saturday night at Florida State. They're going to be hyped. I don't know. I think Duke covers. They're my lock of the week to cover that 14.5. Yeah, I think Duke really honestly is going to keep it close.
Is it at Florida State? I think it is.
It is at Florida State, yes. The over-under is
good to go, I think.
Over-under is 49.5. I like the under, too. I don't think Florida State's going to blow them out. I think it's going to be like a maybe 20-10 kind of game.
Yeah.
But I just haven't been really impressed with Florida State.
Yeah. So that was the other one that we can really touch on. Not really too many other huge games except for like Missouri, South Carolina. Not a whole lot of just like ranked teams. So we'll get into the big noon kickoff where Ohio State hosts Penn State. Mr. Cozy, how do we feel going into this game? And we'll do predictions on this. We'll do predictions on this game and the big one at night.
So there's been a lot of chatter around our fan base and how our fan base reacts at home games, and how we're not loud enough. A certain Penn State player kind of called us out, and he kind of said, "Oh, we're used to this atmosphere. We play in front of a better atmosphere." Okay, that's fine. We'll bring the noise. I'm very much excited for it. Obviously, go and do it. It is going to be okay. So there's a few keys to the game for me. I'm going to call my shot right now. I think Julian Fleming has a excellent game. He's fought through injuries. He's kind of been bumped down by 5-star after 5-star after 5-star that comes through. And granted, I know that he was, I believe, a 5-star recruit as well. But he's just like the talent with him is just, it's better than what he is. And he's a PA boy. So I think he's going to come up big. He's kind of been like almost like, okay, Mbuka's definitely the safety blanket for Kyle McCord, but like he's like the second wave safety blanket. Obviously, Marv is his favorite target, and Mbuka's second favorite target, and is always safety blanket. But Julian Fleming has been stepping up big. I think Julian Fleming has a huge game. I'm calling it. Fleming goes for over 100 this game. And he just shells out. I think we have a great game. I think it's supposed to rain. And it's kind of weird how the rain, like they've been like literally staggering it. Earlier in the week, it was supposed to start raining at 11 a.m. Then it was supposed to start raining at 2. Now it's supposed to start raining at 3. Then today it's changed. It's supposed to start raining around 1. I don't know if there's going to be rain. It's still 30 to 40% chance of rain. I can tell you it's raining in Columbus right now. The cold front's moving through. It's going to be a nice, crisp Saturday. Like fall's here, Big Ten football weather. Get that. Going to have the hot apple cider flowing on Saturday morning with a little Captain and Fireball in it.
A little bit of Fireball.
You Southerners know nothing of that.
Oh, little bit of Captain and Fireball and
get some cider donuts on the way. Oh man,
see the steam rise off the hot cider. I mean, it's going to be a great Saturday. I'm super excited for it. The gates are opening 2 hours early, and I really think here's how we match up against Penn State. So they have obviously a great defense. Everyone's been raving about this defense. Once again, Blake made a comment about this earlier. Who the fuck have they played? Literally, who had they played?
UMass and an FCS school. Fake Michigan.
In West Virginia. Cool. You played West Virginia. And everyone wants to rave about this offensive line against West Virginia and how you handled them and abused them. And this West Virginia line is better than Ohio State's. Maybe they are. But it's not like you guys really, really, honestly, were just like dominating that game. That game, I believe, wasn't as far out of reach as everyone claims it to be. Also, you were throwing the ball to like the end of the game to cover. You literally were throwing the ball to cover at the end of the game. Imagine that.
Imagine doing that.
Like, I want to be like, okay, so wait a minute. You guys were throwing the ball at the end of this game to cover. You scored 17 points against a West Virginia team. Like, this game was 21-7 going into the fourth quarter. And I know you kicked a field goal. I know you went up 31-7 and they scored late, but you scored a touchdown with 6 seconds left to cover the game. You were up by 16 and you had to cover with 6 seconds left. I'm just saying, I'm not as afraid of everyone else is. The other thing is there's been a lot of shit talk from Penn State fans. And I really honestly think they want to say that they can run the ball well. With what offensive line? I think our defensive tackles are going to have a field day. Our defensive tackles had a field day against Notre Dame. Notre Dame proved that they can actually run the football very well. They did it pretty well against USC. They controlled the game. And they ran the ball against everybody else but Ohio State. But my big thing on defense this Saturday, Tommy Eichenberg, Jack Sawyer, go prove to me that you're here to win a national championship. Bring the defense. Tommy's going to be the center. He's the leader. He's the captain. Jack Sawyer, I've been waiting for you to be your 5-star self for 4 years now. Dude, please bring it. Like that's all I'm asking. Like it's been 3 years now for Jack. I just need that. I need you to take over the game, but I want it to be early. I need you to put a JTT performance together in the first quarter or second quarter and take over, put a stamp on this game early, keep the crowd into this game, keep it rolling, and let's go out there and just fucking mow them down.
So score prediction. What do we got, Cozy?
I'm going to say 24-21. Julian Fleming scores the game-winning touchdown. That's my safe score prediction. My actual realistic feeling, 27-10 Ohio State. Absolute just ass whipping in the horseshoe. And basically, James Franklin's their head coach. I don't trust him. And I've heard it from everybody that they are better than us on offense. They have a better quarterback. They may not have the better wide receivers. They may not have the better running backs. Or they say they have the better running backs, the better quarterbacks. They may not have the better wide receivers. Their O-line is comparable to ours, but their D-line and D-ends are going to eat our team alive. Their linebackers and their cornerbacks are better than ours. I'm going to tell you what, I think Denzel Burke's fine. He's going to play. I know they keep saying he may not. He's going to play. This is a big game. And Mbuka will be back. Travion Henderson is going to be back. I know Chip has been practicing all week. He's fine. Mayan Williams, I don't know. It's kind of a game time decision, it sounds like. But guess what? We have Dallin Hayden, and if we need him, we will use him. Xavier Johnson, like I said, looked good last week. And also, quick shout out, and I forgot to do it in the Purdue recap. Brandon Innes, he had first catch as a Buckeye, 5-star recruit, went for a 58-yard touchdown. So kind of cool to see that. He hasn't seen a lot of the field, obviously, because this wide receiver room is absolutely stacked. But key on offense is Julian Fleming, I think. Like I said, Cade Stover is going to have a huge field day. I don't think their linebackers know how to guard Cade Stover. And once again, I don't trust James. I'm not scared of James Franklin. Until you beat me at Ohio State or in Ohio Stadium, I'm not scared of you. I could go into this game in the fourth quarter down 26-14 or some BS like that. I'm still going to think you're going to blow it at some point. Drew Allar is going to throw a pick six. We're going to get a scoop and score. Like something's going to go our way. Because for some reason, James Franklin will find a new way to lose to Ohio State. It's going to happen this week. I think that we get it rolling early this time, though, and just put them away. We've heard all the shit talk for way too long. And right now, I mean, Cowherd, he picked Ohio State, but out of everybody else in the country, everybody else seems to be all high and mighty on Penn State. And they have a 5-star quarterback finally, and they are going to be the golden team to do this. And they host Michigan this year, and they're going to beat Michigan, and they're going to go into the Big Ten title game undefeated. That's all I've heard from this Penn State team. I look at the matchup, and I look at X's and O's, things like that. And guess what? If it comes down to kicking competition, I really trust our kicker a lot better than their kicker. Our kicker is a lot better than theirs. And guess what? We have a world-class punter. He's awesome. He should be up for the, what's the punter award?
I don't know.
I don't know. He should
have got it last year, I think. But
no, we lost it.
So
they didn't give it to us.
So I really honestly think conservatively 24-21, it's close if we don't play a great game. But I really honestly think we put the hammer down early, 27-10. I think it's an absolute just dance party in the fourth quarter for the whole stadium, and everyone's just jamming.
Blake?
Yeah, all week I've really been unfortunate. I actually got yelled at by TK, our guy, in the chat for being an Ohio State meat writer when I said it would be 24-13 and to be a comfortable game. Again, James Franklin masterclass. That goes one way, not two ways. I can say it. And people outside of the conference will think maybe, oh, wow, you think he's going to get it? No. I think there'll be a few times. I mean, I almost said like it reminds me of like the 2016 Michigan Ohio State game where like, Urban faked a punt on his own 10-yard line. And they went for it when they should have kicked some field goals. I think James Franklin is going to get in the way of what is one of the better Penn State teams I've seen in a long time. And again, I know he's this Ohio State guy. He's from Ohio. So a lot of like the Ohio State people won't talk about how bad he is. Drew Aller hasn't shown a lick of what anyone's talking about. I don't understand any of the hype that's coming out of this guy. Like, I get that he's a big body. I saw a mock draft where he goes number 1 next year. Like, again, like people like to give a lot of crap to JJ McCarthy, and they were comparing JJ McCarthy and Drew Aller, and they're saying they're on the same level this year so far. I think it's categorically, it's just like almost like, spreading misinformation on the internet, and Twitter should censor them. Like, what are we doing here? Because Drew's done nothing but check down. Will those checkdowns be open against Ohio State? Maybe. I mean, the linebackers, again, aren't great in pass coverage. Both of them are, and I think the middle of the field will be open. But both these teams are going to stand up. They're going to make these young quarterbacks throw. And I don't know if young by starting time for McCord. I don't know if we're going to see much out of it. But again, look, you gotta. Trends are made to be broken, and when trends are broken, everyone's wrong. I do agree with Michael in the fact that I always keep saying this the entire year. When you go into any Twitter space, you go to any article of anyone outside of the Big Ten, every single person's like, Penn State's going to win it all this year. They're doing it. And I'm like, give me one reason why. Like, I don't know. I just feel it. There's zero reason why. Like, obviously, I'm very biased with Michigan. I think it's very clearly Michigan won, and then right behind them is Penn State, or is Ohio State, right? I think Penn State's not even on the tier of Michigan, Ohio State. And I didn't feel this way coming into the season because I bought the media hype. Every media outlet you went to said Penn State. Okay, they were all Penn State and Alabama, and look how well that's turned out so far. And I just think that, yes, their edges are really good, but I like to think that when it's this obvious that their only thing that they have going for them is their edges are so good, they're going to figure some sort of scheme out. I like to, I would like to think that these $1 million coaches aren't complete idiots like Ward Manuel. Okay, so that's what I have for that game. What do you think about going on, Zach?
You guys both pick Ohio State. I've been wrong in the past, and I'm going to stand on what I said earlier in the other pod. I think that the defensive line of Penn State will expose the tackles of Ohio State and show that they are far more superior. I think it's going to be, like I said, kind of a low-scoring game in the first half. I think it's probably going to be like 14-10 or some low score like that, and I think it's going to stay pretty low the whole way, but I think it's going to come back and forth, be about 21-21 going into the end of the fourth quarter with one possession left, and I think it's going to be a toss-up, and Penn State's going to win on a game-winning field goal, 24-21. I think it's just one of those games where it's either people are feeling very confident about Penn State or people are feeling very, very down about Penn State, but I think that in games like this, when you need a young, like I said before, a young quarterback versus a young quarterback, one has a quality start so far. The other guy is going into his first quality start. He's a highly touted recruit. He's got to prove it. And I think this is his prove-it game. I think it's going to be a close game all the way. And I think Penn State's just going to come out on top and kind of shock all the people that are down.
I would say the only X factor I could think of, like that's not talked about, was kind of what happened with JJ McCarthy, where they wanted to go to Ohio State, weren't recruited. It's his hometown team, and it's way more personal for him. So if he could just go God mode, I don't see it, but that's something.
Technically, we did recruit him, so we didn't recruit him.
I think the big player that is going to have a major impact in the game is Theo Johnson. I think he's going to have quite a bit of an impact, kind of in that middle of the field, and should be able to get a couple big plays.
If Franklin is not speaking Japanese, they will not win the game. Okay, he said if you throw downfield, it'll make him speak Japanese. If he's not saying Konnichiwa and Lambert Smith is going down the sideline, they're in for a long day.
Yeah.
So Zach, you would kind of say, as I love to tell my friend Kansan Todd, you would say that Ohio State's the underdog, right?
I would not say Ohio State's the underdog. I think Ohio State is the favorite.
Everyone keeps shouting us, baby. Ohio against the world. Ohio against the world, baby.
I just
backs against the wall. We come in the brotherhood, baby. Do it for your brother, baby. Yeah, I'm a little.
What is going on?
I'm a little hyped up for this game.
It's a big game. It's a big game, and I think if there's one time that James Franklin can prove that he is ready for the big occasion, this is going to be the game where he finally pulls through and wins.
We've been waiting 10 years for him to pull through and say he's ready for the big moment. 10 years. He's been there for 10, maybe 8. I don't know.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of years.
It's been a while. So is this the moment? Because if it's not, are Penn State fans fed up with him enough?
Yeah. I think it's an interesting aspect. Like I said, the young quarterbacks, Penn State has been they've had good games running the ball. They've had bad games. I think this is one of those games where if they can get, if their running back has over 150 yards, I think they win. I think that's a fair statement.
Okay.
I think if they combine for about 150 yards, they should win this game because if it rains, it's going to be sloppy. And there's going to be turnovers. And I think that they have the experience enough to not turn over the ball so far, especially with how they've played in the rain before. And then I guess we got to talk about the big one. The big one at night in East Lansing for Paul. He's currently in Ann Arbor. And if I had to make an honest prediction, he's probably going to stay in Ann Arbor. Just the overpowering of how Michigan's played this year. They've looked dominant so far. I do think there is a strong chance that we can come out and shock everybody, that we are playing for everything right now.
Sorry, Zach.
But I do think it's going to be like a 31-10 game. I think it's going to be Michigan from the start. The only way I could see us really coming out and winning is if we take a 10, 14-point lead and Michigan's a little rattled, especially because it's supposed to rain. There's like a 60% chance of rain. It's fall weather in Michigan. The ball could be all over the place. There could be sloppy. There could be fumbles. And it could come down to whoever's at the lead when the rain starts. But we'll I know what Blake's going to say. He's going to say, take Michigan minus 31.5 because it's going to be a blowout. But I don't know. The weather's going to play a factor, I feel.
Yeah, that is one of my plays this week is Michigan, the max alternate spread you can get on any book. And again, it's not because of Michigan State. It's because, look, like I was saying the whole time, right? This rivalry got to like a legitimately scary place last year. Like, I don't want to be like that guy. Obviously, getting legal involved is a weak move by Michigan, but that was Ward Manuel's idea. So then again, everything's wrong. Again, like I understand, like objectively, it's just such a horrifying image. Like you're jumping this guy and smashing your helmets in this kid's head. Like that guy could have died. Like, let's just be straight up honest. Okay. Yeah. And it got to such a hostile point. Obviously, we had, Valeni basically comparing it, being like, "Yo, don't bring your wife and kids this game. Like, this game's gonna be like, we're ready to fight." And it was almost like a threat. Obviously, he didn't mean it that way, but that's how idiot Michigan fans took it. And it got to like a point where it was like I was almost like I literally wasn't gonna go to this game until like the whole Tucker situation happened. I was like, "Look, man, like." You need to go in big groups of guys. Like, this is like a legit, like hostile thing. And thankfully, unfortunately for Michigan State side, it's gotten like a way more chill spot. And then this whole sign stealing nonsense has just fired everyone up. And it just sucks. It has to be Michigan State because again, everyone always says Zach's the nicest Michigan State guy alive. There's a lot of them that aren't, which is great. So hopefully I bump into them and get fired up before the game. But like you've already got a chip on your shoulder with this Michigan team, who's the best team I've seen in a long time from Michigan, right? Probably ever in my lifetime. And you're giving them a second chip that's now like a crater on their shoulder. I mean, I don't know if it's like a sleeper agent at Michigan working in the NCAA, like trying to make this happen. But this team, they've said there's been some reports that like, even like we had a parent, one of the freshman receivers' dads come out, be like, this is a personal assault on Michigan. We're going to take it out on the Sparties this weekend. Like, I feel very bad for Michigan State in a non-patronizing way. It's going to sound very patronizing when I'm like, the little brother team. I feel sorry we're going to have to beat your ass, but whatever team was in front of us was going to get like, extra wins. And I think Harbaugh is going to go for it. I think he's going to run up the score. I know he's not really that type of guy usually. That's kind of he was back in the NFL. Hasn't really done it much in college, but it could get ugly.
You could say you guys have a boulder on your shoulder, as one famous quarterback said at one point.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting game. We have according to ESPN, we have a 6.9% chance of winning, which is pretty nice.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, there's not much to talk about. It's finally here. Let's see what team shows up. I mean, if we give it the best effort, that's basically what we're hoping for. Is looking forward to the future with a young quarterback playing now in his second career start. And building on it, we have a lot of young pieces that, unlike Michigan, half their team's probably going to be drafted next year or this year, or going to be playing somewhere else. We have a lot of young pieces that will develop well, and I think going into next year when there's a new coaching staff or whoever's here or whatever happens in the future. It's nice to see positive results going into what's going next.
So I will say, Zach, I kind of feel bad for you guys this week. I have to agree with Blake on this. Like, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be close. Harbaugh is going to run the score up. And here's the thing. And Blake, don't act like Harbaugh wouldn't run the score up against Michigan State if he had the chance. I mean, I know you say he doesn't do that, but how many years in a row did your fan base go after him for not beating Michigan State over and over and over? It was always talked about. So when he has the opportunity to run the score up against Sparty, he's going to do it. No questions asked. It's not going to be pretty. If it is a close game in the fourth quarter, though, I would imagine Spartan Stadium is going to be nuts. I would imagine you guys are just going to be absolutely going crazy, and Michigan fans are going to be sitting there going, oh shit, why are we playing so bad? Because I think the only way you guys are in this game is early on they run like a screenplay and JJ throws like a tip pass pick, or there's a run by Michigan and they fumble, and like Corum fumbles the ball or Edwards fumbles the ball, and you guys get a short field score on like a quick touchdown, and like you said, are up 14 or 10 points like in the first quarter. And then you'd have to feed off that momentum. If you guys go toe-to-toe with Michigan, you guys have either like taken steroids all week and juiced up, or
they were stealing our signs.
Yeah. Don't tell the NCAA. Don't tell the NCAA. I don't know. I'm still so lost on this whole stealing signs thing. I know more information is going to come out, but it's wow, this is really a thing. Like, what's going on?
I mean, look, everyone wants to get an advantage in the game, things like that. It's just one of those things where, like we said, I don't even want to really touch on the stealing signs thing, but it's just, I mean, my score prediction is kind of similar to Zach's. Might even be a little worse. I actually think that they're going to be out for blood. I don't think you guys score, actually. I think it's 45-0.
I think it could be a JJ type Heisman game where they're going to let him sling it, and he's going to be in there in the fourth quarter, making up for all those fourth quarters he hasn't played. I don't know. I mean, yeah,
and I think it's going to get really ugly.
JJ in the fourth quarter? What?
Look. I hope I'm wrong, because I don't have any ill will towards Michigan State. I mean, Urban Meyer might be the next head coach there, so.
I don't have to get into that.
I think Michael, I think we both would like that. I would like.
I'm going to tell you what. It would really light a fire on the whole rivalry with.
Ryan Day would be. Ryan Day would be.
Not only Ryan Day, the all Ohio State fan base would be.
I have a feeling that if Ohio State, with your guys' prediction, if Ohio State beats Penn State this week, and then that happens next year, I feel like James Franklin might freak out.
I mean, he's locked in. He doesn't care. Imagine
he might lose it.
Imagine if Urban beats Ryan Day in the conference.
Man.
You know what the funny thing is? Michigan State has literally probably given us more fits than Michigan has even.
That's the best part about that. The Michigan State, Ohio State is it's either a 1-score game or it's a 50-point game. And there's Literally, there was a year where we were really good and you guys weren't too good, and it was like a 17-16 win by Ohio State.
Yeah, and there's a couple games that is just like wow.
Yeah, and then what? 2 years ago, you came. I don't know what happened at Michigan State, because in a 2-year span, you went from beating Michigan at home to now you are a 24-point underdog. And it's only been 2 years.
Literally, if you look at it, so the last 3 years, right?
Yeah,
we were a 24-point underdog in COVID, and then a year.
We're just going full circle. We're going full circle.
But here's the thing: they beat you in COVID. And then in 2021, they beat you again.
So a 24-point underdog, it might be our lucky number.
In the middle, and the best part is you look at it, the middle of. What it is, they had the Heisman Trophy winner on their team.
Yeah.
They did. And I get it, but then you came to Columbus and it was
absolutely laid an egg.
Yeah, I mean, and we're not talking like an egg. We're talking like maybe the most massive egg laid I've ever seen. Like
it was the biggest ever point spread between top 5 teams of all time.
Yeah,
and they covered it in the first quarter.
And I remember I have a buddy who is a Michigan State fan through and through. He's from Michigan and he lives in Columbus now, and he is in our friends group. And I texted our other friend who was an Ohio State fan. I go, "How's he doing?" They go, "He's about to start crying at the bar." And it was just like, I mean, we literally threw a rainbow. CJ threw rainbow passes up and caught it. And it's like, I don't understand what happened in Michigan State to get where we're at right now with them. And it's like, it's only been 2 years.
Yeah. I mean,
off the field distractions is what I would say.
I get that. And I get that the Mel Tucker stuff happened, but it's still like your roster went from like, okay to just complete shit.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. We got a month, like I said earlier, a month and a couple days until we'll find out real information on the next coaching stuff. Because if I'm the athletic director, the moment Penn State's off the field, we're gonna announce it. It has to be done that day or the next day. You got to get somebody in here to get some recruits in, to save what you got and to try to build on it and get a culture built.
So the day Ohio State plays Michigan State, Ohio State plays Michigan State's going to announce their head coach.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we're going to do that.
We'll all be there.
At 11:59 p.m.
Yeah, exactly.
Or 11:59
if it's not someone
a.m.
good,
right before the game.
Yeah. If it's not someone that they think is going to be a home run hire, it's going to be announced. Yeah, total news dump.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just
Or
right
like halftime.
Yeah. Halftime.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, you guys are going to announce it at halftime of Ohio State, Michigan.
Yeah, he's going to go on.
I remember when the initial Mel Tucker article came out, it was in the middle of the fourth quarter of the Texas-Alabama game when it was still a game. And I was like, what a news dump here. Holy.
Yeah. So we shall see what happens from here, but I think that's all we got for today.
Yeah.
The only other thing is Michael Penix. I just want to touch on it real quick. Michael Penix with a Heisman moment has now pulled away from the rest of the group in the minus points to be the Heisman favorite. And then the other thing we'll start touching on is in a couple weeks, we'll start touching on a little bit of playoff predictions. So we'll do our top 4 and kind of do a quick segment of that, and we'll go from there. So
at least
who's second in Heisman odds?
It is Dylan Gabriel.
Hey, alphabetical would be JJ. Actually, no, it wouldn't. I lied.
Nope. So
I'll just say this: at least one of my dark horses that I picked is still in the runnings. We're not going to talk about my other fourth dark horse.
May 19-1.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. So, all right, another great episode, and we will see you all next time.
See you guys.
Go Bucks.